Thank you for watching I-80 Sports and welcome to a special episode on Reverse Retro Jerseys. Thank you again for joining us here at I-80 Sports. Make sure you follow us on our website at i80sports.com. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at i80_sportsNHL. And of course, make sure you follow us on Facebook on the I-80 Sports discussion group. I'm Brian. He's Tom. Tom, how you doing today?
Doing well. We are again in these dog days of November. I mean, it's very quiet. We had a nice little jersey reveal today. So that's definitely something to talk about. Some really nice ones from what I saw, and some I'm sitting there going, what are they thinking?
Well, on the docket today, we will be giving you our quick hits on those reverse retro jerseys, but we're going to start with the news that this week, Commissioner Gary Bettman is considering division realignment as COVID-19 surges in the U.S., and it's no secret right now. Coronavirus is surging again in the United States. And Tom, what do you think of Gary Bettman's potential plan to realign the divisions if he needs to?
Well, like I said, we've been hearing things about vaccines dropping over the past few weeks, and I personally am sitting here hoping that these vaccines work and we can have a season with fans, or just a season where teams can travel and just play each other like normal, even if there's no fans in the stands. But at the same time, the limiting factor here with the NHL and with the travel is the fact that unlike baseball and basketball, where you only have one Canadian team in each league, you have 7 teams here. And you can't just take 7 Canadian teams and drop them in American cities and say, oh, okay, well, this is going to be your home city for a while. And the other problem about that is that, you know, in basketball and in baseball, Toronto Blue Jays played in Buffalo. You can't just drop the Maple Leafs in Buffalo and say, the Sabres just be like, oh, yeah, we welcome you with open arms, Leafs. So, I mean, it's understandable why he wants to do it. The Canadian division, it does make a lot. I don't know if it makes a lot of sense, but it shortens the border travel. The unfortunate part of the Canadian division is that all the teams in Canada are not very close to each other. You know, Montreal and Toronto are about 4 hours away from each other, as is Toronto and Ottawa. And then going from Ottawa to Winnipeg, forget it. That's got to be at least, I think, 6-7 hours. I don't remember off the top of my head. You know, obviously you're going to have an obvious Eastern division in the U.S. You're going to have an obvious Western division. The proposed Central division may cause some headaches just because you may have to put some Southern teams, say like Florida and Tampa, in that Central division. And I could understand them being upset because, okay, well, now here you are. You have this Eastern division where you have teams like Boston and the Rangers and Philly and D.C. and Pittsburgh all have these late travel schedules. And then you have to take a team like Florida and they have to play a divisional game and go out to Minnesota to play. So that might be a limiting factor too. I personally am hoping that this vaccine talk in the news and in the media is true. And I'm hoping by January 1st, if we can't have fans, we can't have it back normal, we can at least have the travel opened up for just, you know, professional hockey players to cross the Canadian border back and forth just to play games and have things the way they are, or the way they were, rather.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and it's tough right now because no matter what, with a shortened season, it's going to be difficult to have that sense of normalcy, especially if you have either limited fans that are showing up to games or you have no fans that go to games, which is a potential likelihood in particular cities that are still rampant with COVID-19. So it's going to be interesting to see as the weeks roll on. This is just preliminary talk as of right now. This is nothing that has been confirmed by the Commissioner, Gary Bettman, but we will definitely keep everybody updated as this news keeps rolling along and keeps updating in real time. Now, moving on to the reverse retro jerseys. Now, I decided to wear a retro jersey today because, well, if the Atlanta Thrashers were still around today, they'd probably be playing in the Atlantic Division. So I kind of had to cop out in some way, shape, or form. But I'm thinking to myself, hey, retros are a thing. And the NHL has given every team, all 31 teams, sorry, not all 31 teams because all 31 teams because the Golden Knights have a reverse retro jersey, even though they've only been around for a couple of years. But we're going to ignore that. It's fine. But we're going to give you our quick hits on all of the reverse retro jerseys, and you'll get to look at them with us if you have not gotten the chance to see them yet. So without further ado, what do these jerseys look like? We're going to go in alphabetical order with you guys right now. So first on the docket, we've got the Anaheim Ducks reverse retro jersey. This is a throwback to the 1996 alternate Wild Wing jersey. So, Tom, in a sentence or less, what do you think?
Terrible.
Short and sweet. It's tough. I don't know how I feel yet about this. I think this should have been a novelty jersey that should have kind of stayed dead, but I understand why Anaheim fans might like it. Arizona throwing it back to the original third jersey that they had from 98 to 2003. Tom, thoughts?
Still pretty terrible, but not as bad as Anaheim.
Not as bad as Anaheim. I actually kind of like them because they're just different, and different is cool to me. I don't know. It's tough to describe. Now to Boston with their reverse retro, throwing it back to 1990, and I could certainly see Cam Neely wearing that. Tom, thoughts?
I really like this one. Now, you brought up 1990. I think of those lunch pail AC teams from the 1970s that used to give Montreal fits every now and then. I wonder why they didn't do this back then, but the Boston ones I really, really like. I think of you think of Cam Neely, I think of Jean Rattel and Brad Park and Stan Jonathan and everybody's favorite Mike Milbury back in the 1970s with Don Cherry as their coach.
Yep, this is very true. I really like them. I think they're very cool. They kept it simple. They kept it short and sweet. Nothing really to see here. Just a good-looking jersey. Moving on to the Buffalo Sabres reverse retro, throwing it back to 2000, but with the updated colors. So, Tom, what do you think?
It's that one's not so bad. That's it brings their, it harkens back to those like Hasek and Pekka teams that would be, great in the playoffs. They didn't maybe have the greatest regular seasons, but would be good playoff teams. But then it keeps that original color scheme, that blue and gold. I kind of like that one.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I like this one. Part of me was hoping for the return of the Buffalo head, but at least we get it on the shoulder patch, so I can't complain there. The Calgary Flames reverse retro, which, fun fact, that little emblem on the front, his name is Blasty, and throwing it back to the Blasty emblem. Tom, what's your opinion?
I like it, but it's not really original at all. All you're doing is just taking something they had and just maybe amending it a little bit. I like it, but there's no originality to it at all. It's just kind of, okay, well, here's something we had and we're just going to tweak it a little bit.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Don't get me wrong, I like the Blasty jersey, but there's really not much different. They took out the red, they changed the Calgary logo on the shoulder patch. Other than that, it's okay, but there's nothing really different about it, so I'm moving on. The Carolina Hurricanes, of course, throwing it back to the Hartford Whalers, and just a different color scheme for this one. Tom, what do you think?
I think it's terrible. I think this is really bad. There's still a lot of Whaler fans out there who really despise the Hurricanes. I get it's a nod to the Whalers, but the Hurricanes are not the Whalers. Though, granted, they were once the Whalers, but they're still not the Whalers. This doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense to me. It's just a tease to those. There's still Whaler fans out there, even though they haven't been around for 20 plus years. And this is just kind of a tease to them and a little bit of an FU to them. I disagree with that concept totally.
Yeah, I'm torn because on one hand, I love the Whalers jerseys. I always have. But you're right. Just because the Hartford Whalers up and moved to Carolina and became the Carolina Hurricane does not mean that they're still the Whalers. So I would have rather seen some form of reverse retro. If Columbus can have a reverse retro, Carolina could have had a reverse retro. That's just my bold take. Now the Chicago Blackhawks kind of throwing it back to the 1940s and 1950s with this jersey. Tom, what do you think?
I like it. The first person I think of is Stan Mikita for some reason. I don't know why. But no, these I like. Yeah, these I like. These are pretty cool. That Chicago went a little conservative, but they've been around for a while, the Blackhawks. So it's just kind of a nod to their heritage. Very good idea. I like that.
Yeah, I like it. I don't see that much wrong with it. I do find it interesting and something that we can use as a talking point, maybe in the future, that they have kind of gone out of their way to try to shy away from the logo reveal. There's nothing really to hide. It's still the same logo, but it's still an interesting talking point for maybe later on and maybe in the comment section below. Moving on to the Avalanche, Tom, I know you have strong feelings to this one. So this is throwing back to the Quebec Nordiques. And, well, Tom, I have a feeling that your comment is probably similar to the Hartford Whalers. So what do you think?
It's very similar. Now, while Nordique fans are a little more forgiving than, say, Whaler fans are, they could have done something better than this. I mean, the Colorado Avalanche have won 2 Stanley Cups. They're probably going to be the team of the decade for this upcoming decade. They could have done, I mean, they could have taken that third jersey they had back in the early 2000s with the Colorado going in the diagonal, and they could have done something like that. The Nordiques, they're not, I mean, they're not the Nordiques anymore. The Nordiques have been gone now 25 years, and, you know, Nordique fans are a little more forgiving, but if I was a Nordique fan, I'd be a little upset. Okay, here is this team. Here is our team that got moved to another city, won 2 Stanley Cups. We got left with nothing, and now they're teasing us with this. I'm sorry. I don't like this one either. It's a slap in the face to Nordique fans. I'm sorry. It's not honoring the Nordiques. It's slapping Nordique fans in the face.
I'm kind of torn on this one because I see where you're coming from, but at least with the Nordiques, they had a good chunk of that Avalanche team that did go on to win a cup. You know, so I do think it kind of honors it in that sense of what could have been. But part of me was also semi-yearning for, and this is kind of a spoiler alert for the Devils jersey, for their reverse retro. I was kind of hoping for maybe a sign of like the Colorado Rockies from the 1970s. As bad as a team that they were for years, that could have been a cool concept that they could have gone with. And that's, I guess, you know, what could have been there. But that's just me. We're going to move on to the Blue Jackets, or not so Blue Jackets with this jersey, but we'll get to my thoughts. This is going back to their original logo from their inception in 2000. So, Tom, quick thoughts.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. The first thing that popped in my mind was one of my favorite soccer teams, Bayern Munich. When I saw the colors, that popped in my mind for some reason. But I don't hate it. It's like I say, it's not terrible. It's not the greatest jersey I ever saw, but it's decent, you know?
It's not horrible, but what confuses me, and this is a comment that I saw somewhere else, they're the Blue Jackets, not the Red Jackets. So it's a little, you know, confusing to me in that sense, especially since all of their jerseys in the past have been blue. So it's not bad, but I think it's just kind of middle of the pack for me. The Dallas Stars. Now, I kind of have strong opinions on this one, but this goes back to their original Dallas Stars logo. And Tom, what do you think?
While I like the logo, the jersey looks like a nightgown. I hate to say it, but
yeah, a little bit. And not even that. It's just like it's all washed out. You can barely see the Stars logo except for the star.
This is the jersey. Yeah, this is the jersey you brought to play roller hockey on a Saturday afternoon, and you wore it and you fell on the asphalt with it about 9,000 times, and this is what became of it all these years later after sitting in a closet or a box.
Yeah, it looks like your mom accidentally washed it with bleach and said, "Here you go. Sorry about that." You know, and that's just a hot take from me. Sorry, Dallas fans, if I offend you for that one. Or maybe you hate it too. I don't know. But moving on to other jerseys we may or may not hate. The Detroit Red Wings with their reverse retro, which is us plain white with a silver stripe, kind of like their Centennial jersey from their outdoor jersey in 2017. Tom, what do you think?
It looks like a practice jersey to me.
Thank you. Of course. That's exactly what it looks like to me. It looks like a mixture of a practice jersey and the All-Star jerseys from last year. That's what it looks like to me. And
let me just chime in here, too. I don't understand why Original Six teams have to do a reverse retro jersey, especially a team like Detroit, who's never had a third jersey. So, you know, a team like that, like Detroit, who's never had a third jersey, has done heritage jerseys to nod to their past as they are one of the greatest franchises in hockey history. But this is kind of what you're going to get out of that, because they've always been a team that doesn't really like to mess too much with their look.
Yeah. And Detroit fans have been kind of clamoring for a third jersey for years, which Adidas has said it's possible, it could come, but I don't know. I just think that this is kind of bland, if you ask me. The Edmonton Oilers, moving on to more bland. A little bit more on the heavy orange and white. And this is inspired from the 1979 to 1996 jerseys. What do you think, Tom?
It's good. It's good. I mean, from the first glance at it, looks like a hoodie. I kind of wish what they would have done is, I know they have those orange ones that they wear at home now. I wish they would have done one with like that blue base in the orange stripe and the orange stripes, something like the orange, not the stripes, the orange trim on the shoulders somehow. I think that would have been a little bit cooler, because when I see those blue ones, I think of like the great Oilers like Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier and Paul Coffey, the 80s. I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad, but this is going to be a problem with a couple jerseys coming up. If you asked me to look at this jersey and the Oilers went onto the ice with this and you said, hey, this is their reverse retro, I would not have been able to tell. And that is one problem with a couple of the reverse retros that we have coming up, including the Oilers. Moving on to the Florida Panthers. Speaking of which, throwing it back to the 93 to 2007 Panther logo. Tom, quick hit.
I like it. They had a third jersey, which was kind of similar to that. It harkens back to their better times when in the days of John Van Beesbrook, and then immediately after when they had Pavel Bore. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it. I wish they would go back to that logo, if you ask me. Moving on to the LA Kings Reverse Retro. And this is kind of a combo of retros where it's inspired by 1988 to 1998 logo, but also the colors from before the 80s as well. So, Tom, what do you think?
I like it. I like it. It's a nice mashup of their history. They're between the Triple Crown days of Marcel Dion and Charlie Simmer, and I believe Dave Taylor was the other part of the Triple Crown line, and then the Gretzky days of the 90s. So it's kind of like a mashup of their history pre-Stanley Cup days. I don't mind this one. This is pretty good.
Yeah, I like this one. This one's pretty cool, and I think, I really got no issues with this particular jersey. I think it's really sleek. I think it's really, a good fresh take on the idea. Moving on to the Minnesota Wild, really throwing it back to the Minnesota North Stars with their jerseys. It's the same North Stars color, except with the original Wild logo. So, what do we think?
See, this one I don't hate, because it's still a Wild jersey. It's using North Stars colors, but it's still, you look at it, okay, this is still a Minnesota Wild jersey.
Yeah.
And it's not like the North Stars were kind of robbed from the town either. I like this one. I don't mind this one. This isn't a tease. This isn't kind of, giving fans of what were the North Stars nephew. But I guess what also is different about them as opposed to, say, Carolina or Colorado is that, or in Hartford and Quebec, is that Minnesota got a team back too. So the hatred and the anger obviously isn't as deep in St. Paul. And one other thing about Minnesota before we go is that Minnesota high school and college hockey also have a huge foothold there as opposed to pro hockey. But this one's good. I like this one.
Yeah, I like this one too. I like that it took the heritage of the Minnesota North Stars and used it as their own logo as well. Moving on to the Montreal Canadiens with a true reverse retro. The idea of like a real reverse retro, inverting the colors. And this is the style of their 70s to 80s jerseys, though you really can't tell a little bit because their jersey has stayed very much similar over the years. But Tom, what do you think?
This is like another situation like Detroit right now. It's like, okay, Montreal has been very traditional over the years. They've never had a third jersey. They've never switched their overall on-ice look with their jerseys, their pants and socks so much. And I think this was just sort of, well, okay, if we have to do it, we'll put something together. But I mean, I don't know. I just don't see a reason for Montreal to have. I mean, I know it was put in by Adidas, but it's just like, it's Montreal. I mean, come on.
I think that's fair, but I think it's still a fresher take than Detroit. I think I like this reverse retro more than I liked Detroit's. And I mean, that's not saying much. I didn't like Detroit's reverse retros that much either. Moving on to the Nashville Predators. So this is based on their original jerseys from their inception, except you're inverting the colors here. Quick take, Tom?
Predictable, not bad. Predictable. I don't mind it.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Not much to see here. Just a perfectly fine jersey. Moving on to my favorite team, the New Jersey Devils, inverting their original Christmas tree look from the 1980s. And, a first real different color jersey for the New Jersey Devils. So what do we think?
Well, you know how I spoke about Minnesota before? At first glance, like that green looks like the Minnesota Wild green. But, I mean, it's not the worst.
I was really worried about it when I saw the teaser, and I was just like, oh, God, it's a New Jersey Wild jersey. But then I actually saw the full jersey, and I don't hate it. I actually kind of like it, and I think it's actually kind of a sleek-looking jersey. And I think actually a lot of people around the league are just like, wow, that's actually a cool-looking reverse retro jersey. And like I said, I was hesitant beforehand, and I was worried, but I like it. Moving on to not Tom's favorite team just yet. We've got one more team. The New York Islanders reverse retro, throwing it back to their cup winning days. And this is a reverse retro, which if you ask me, doesn't look that different from their jersey now. Tom, what do you think?
How is this any different? I mean, maybe the stripes are a little bit bigger. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And this is exactly the problem that I was saying before with there are some reverse retro jerseys that aren't really reversed. They literally look the same. It's just like, wow, I would have preferred if they took the fisherman logo or at least the fisherman style of the jersey and did it here. At least then I know it's a reverse retro. Heck, if you're going to take that ugly jersey from the Anaheim Ducks, take the ugly fisherman and do that and put it in today's logo. You could totally do that. And I don't know. I feel like the Islanders dropped the ball. Moving on to the New York Rangers, your favorite team. Tom, I feel like you're the only one that should have an opinion on this one. Do you like it? Do you not like it?
I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's a modern take on the Lady Liberty jerseys from the 90s. First thought, I think of Wayne Gretzky roofing that puck over Carl Snow in the 97 playoffs. Would I buy one? No, but I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either, and I always kind of like the Lady Liberty logo. I always kind of liked it a little bit. Moving on to the Ottawa Senators reverse retro. It is a genuine flip of their normal black color screen. And Tom, what do you think?
I really like this one, actually. This one, it is a normal flip, but you know what? It sort of harkens back, and I just another short history lesson for everybody here. The Ottawa Senators actually existed as a hockey team back in the teens and the 20s in the 1900s, and this sort of, even though it's not what they wore, it's sort of kind of hard. It looks like maybe something that they would have worn had they existed in the 30s and the 40s. Looks like a jersey they maybe would have worn then. I really like this one.
Yeah, I like this jersey too. I mean, this is a jersey I think I would buy, and it is a sleek looking jersey. It's simple, and sometimes keeping it simple is what works. Sometimes, less is more, and that's the case for this jersey. Moving on to the Flyers, harkening back to the 80s and 90s look back when, in the days of Eric Lindros. Tom, what do you think?
It's not bad. It's not bad. I like the ones that they have now a little bit better, the 70s style ones that they've been using for the last 10 years. I like those a little bit better, but I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Yeah, it's not bad. I think it's a little busy, but it's not bad. It's really not bad. The Penguins reverse retro, throwing it back, way back to the 90s on this one, with the lettering going across the body and now just making it a white jersey. So, quick thoughts?
I like it. This actually harkens back even before then. In the 60s and 70s, when they first became a team, they actually had that style of white jersey with that diagonal going, but their colors were blue. And I think it was a shade of turquoise and a shade of navy on a white jersey. So it harkens back to that. I like these though. These are pretty good looking. I like these.
Yeah, I do really, really like this jersey, and I think it's honestly just a good looking jersey in general. And, it's really not bad. It's a little bland, but like I said before, less is more. Less is more. Moving on to the Sharks. Speaking of, the opposite, less is more. Throwing it back to their first alternate jersey back in 1997 with inverted colors this time around. Tom, what do you think?
Looks like I don't know. Kind of looks like something like one of those things you'd wear on the beach to keep the sun to keep away from sunburn. Looks I don't know. I'm not too fond of this one.
I don't know a real good opinion for this one. I have no opinion one way or the other. I kind of wish that they would have gone to their original inception. I would have preferred they gone to their original inception, or take a page out of Minnesota's book, go with the California Golden Seals color scheme, and get the Sharks logo in there. I think that could have been a lot cooler and a lot more different, and kind of make you wonder about, like, okay, let's look at the history behind this. Throwing it back now to the St. Louis Reverse Retro Jersey, which is a throwback on one of their original jerseys, not one of their originals, but one of their hot takes in 1995, but now just red. Tom, thoughts?
Thinking of Gretzky again in '96 when he played for the Blues. It's not bad. It's not bad. I like what they have now better. And I remember in the '90s when they had gone back to what they had worn in the '60s and '70s when they first were a team. I like what they have now better, but I don't hate this one.
No, I don't hate this one either. I think it's a little busy, but at the end of the day, I think it's still a good looking jersey overall. It can be busy, but be ugly. In this case, I don't think it's very ugly. I think this is actually kind of a cool jersey. It reminds me a lot of just like a 90s sweater that you would, kind of wear around. And I think it's really cool. The Tampa Bay Reverse Retro Jersey, throwing it back to from 1992 to 2007 with their original logo. They won a Stanley Cup with this logo famously, and just reversing the colors to brighten up with blue. So Tom, what do we think?
I don't know. If I was a Bolts fan, I really wouldn't want this jersey.
Thanks for watching I-80 Sports, and welcome to a special episode.
This jersey just
on
reminds me of the late
retro
90s
jerseys.
when they were the biggest joke on the block. I don't know. I think that they could have tried to do something better. It looks like the jerseys they had in the '90s, and then what I associate in the '90s with those jerseys is them being one of the worst teams in the league. It's just I don't know. I don't like the Tampa ones. I just don't.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not great. Kind of middle of the pack for me, like maybe lower pack for me. I like their original logo though. I do miss their original logo, genuinely. Throwing it down to the Maple Leafs Reverse Retro Jersey, which kind of a combination of the 1970 jersey with the 1967 logo with this one. Tom, quick thoughts?
I like this one. This definitely explores their honors their heritage. It honors the Stanley Cup teams in the 1960s. It honors the terrible times of the 1970s with some of the players they had back then, and guys like Davey Keon and Darryl Sittler. This one, out of all the original 6 teams, with the exception of Boston, this is probably my favorite one. I like the Boston one's my favorite, but if I had to pick a second favorite original 6 one, this is probably it.
I like it. I don't know. Like, something about it, I just can't quite put my finger on it. Just like, it's all right to me. It's just all right. I do like the original logo. I like that they're using the 1967 logo with this, but it's just, I don't know. Something about this just doesn't, I don't know. Kind of middle of the pack with this one for me. The Vancouver Canucks Reverse Retro Jersey, the gradient finish jersey. And not a lot of people remember this jersey, but this was a gradient finish, one of the only gradient finish jerseys in the NHL. From 2001 to 2006 is when they used this. And now it's very similar to the original jersey with the original logo, except you're using the original colors of the Vancouver Canucks. So what do we think?
It's not bad. That's kind of like with those colors. It's kind of like honoring the Pacific Northwest in a way, I guess. I don't mind it.
Yeah, I mean,
they may be they may be trying to steal something from Seattle too. If Seattle was trying to do that color scheme, that might be them trying to steal from them too. Early little rivalry there.
Yeah, I don't hate it. It's not horrible, but it is kind of cool to see the gradient jersey kind of come back. I think that, hopefully is kind of a spring point for maybe other teams to kind of jump on that idea again. Or it might just be a reminder to teams of just like, wow, we should never do that again. But I don't hate it. It's not my favorite, but it's cool. That's all I can say. The Golden Knights, I don't know why that scrolled all the way down. Just bear with it for a second. The Vegas Golden Knights Reverse Retro Jersey, and this is actually really, really cool, where it's going back to the old Las Vegas Thunder jerseys, and it's remembering, Vegas hockey history. And obviously, you couldn't have a reverse retro jersey for Vegas because of how new they are in the league. But this is a cool way to honor that Vegas heritage for hockey. So, Tom, what do we think?
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. It sort of looks like a maybe something that you would have seen in the early to mid 2000s. It's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, I could definitely see this as like a secondary logo if the Vegas Golden Knights were around in the 90s or 2000s. This would have definitely been a good secondary logo for them to use. And I do like this. I actually think that this is a sleek looking jersey and a good change of pace for the Vegas Golden Knights. The Washington Capitals Reverse Retro Jersey, which is bringing it back to the Soaring Eagle from the 90s to 2000s, just with the updated colors for the year 2020, 2021. So, Tom, what do we think?
Well, it's not bad. It's not bad. A little like I said, it's kind of a mashup of history where they take the colors, the reddish colors they had, but it's a nod back to their that '98 team that went to the final. And Olaf Kolzig and Peter Bondra led them to that Stanley Cup final against Detroit. Unfortunately, they lost, but then again, who wasn't losing to Detroit back then?
Yeah, that's true. I do like this jersey. I'm a little bit biased because I really, really like the Soaring Eagle from the 90s and 2000s. I thought that was a cool logo, a really, really great logo. And I like the updated colors with this. I think this is a really good looking jersey and definitely a jersey that I would even consider getting if I was looking at one of these reverse retro jerseys to pick up. Finally, the Winnipeg Jets reverse retro jersey. Just the original jersey and logo, but with a change of pace of color. What do we think for this last one, Tom?
They could have done better. I think maybe how we talked about like the red scheme on Columbus. Maybe they could have done like a red and a blue and put the Jets logo on there. I think they could have done better than this. I know it's kind of honoring their old logo and their current colors, but I don't know.
I see what they're going for here in terms of the color scheme. They're trying to do their modern color scheme with this. But I also feel like if you're trying to do your modern color scheme, you make this part of the jersey red. Like instead of gray and silver, make it red. And I think that's a better looking jersey. I mean, some people would say like, yo, that gray looks awesome. But in this case, it's just, I don't know. It's just, it's a little bland to me. It's just a little bland to me. But that being said, what do you guys think? Is there a particular jersey that you guys like one way or the other? Let us know in the comments below. And make sure you continue to join us on our website, i80sports.com. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, i80_sports NHL. And make sure you follow us on the i80 Sports discussion group. I'm Brian. He's been Tom. This has been our special take on the reverse retro jerseys.